Alexa, stop. Alexa, turn den light on. So I bet you're all wondering how I feel about this whole Cyberpunk issue. Been seeing nothing but Twitter all week. Cyberpunk, Cyberpunk, Cyberpunk. So I guess it's time for a morning gamer. I'm probably going to say some things in this video that you don't like. Some realities. But there's going to be some things that you do like. The thing that shocks me about all this stuff that's going on is how many people are actually surprised by this. This has been a problem that's plagued the industry for years, so you really shouldn't be surprised. And I'll tell you what, the developers aren't the ones to blame. So there's two entities to blame. That's the publisher. Usually there's a board of directors. Let's take EA or Activision. They have a board of directors. All they know is business and marketing. They don't know shit about game development. So they put the pressure on these game developers to get these games out for the holidays because that's when they'll make the most money. The whole idea that you make the most money during the holidays is because people are buying things at the holidays. That's when most consumers spend a lot of money on stuff they don't need. So if you get these games out by the holidays, you'll maximize your profits and your return on investment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Typically, this is an issue with big AAA developers, big studios like EA, Activision, Sony, Microsoft, and that's when crunch usually comes into play. But CD Projekt Red is an independent developer. They've always been an independent developer. They do all their stuff on their own. Then they find through international markets other big publishers to publish their games. I don't know all the ins and outs of their business, but I do know that they are an indie developer. They don't have EA or Activision pushing them to get their games out a certain amount of time. However, since they've gotten so big over the years, maybe they've grown and they have this big board of directors and they hired some people or whatever. They said, this game has to be out by the holidays. And while CD Projekt Red has done very well in communicating the progress of the game over the years and communicating delays, what happened was inevitable. And I'll explain to you why. If we go back to the Warzone. I can't even remember when it was. It was still when the Warzone was going. The original Warzone. Not the original, but the second running of the Warzone. May have been the original. I remember this. I'll never forget it because I remember saying this. And a lot of things I say, I know there's a large group of my fans that don't believe some of the stuff that I say. But there's a group of people that do believe it and they understand. And that's the difference between console gamers and PC gamers. And I'm not dissing anybody or anything like that. I'm saying that PC gamers have a different outlook on things because we look at games and game development a lot different than console gamers do. Okay? Console gamers never have to worry about hardware choice. You buy a complete box and it's the same box that everybody else has. Console gamers have to be conscious about motherboards, CPUs, GPUs, RAM, cooling solutions, power supplies. There's so much that we have to be in tune with. Because not only do we want our boxes to run well and do so many things, but they have to play games really well. And this all started back when Crysis first came out, okay? When Crysis first came out, nobody could run that fucking game the way it was supposed to be run. Nobody. Okay? Crysis was the definitive next-gen game machine, PC breaking game. You were lucky to get 30 frames per second out of the game. I need to go out and find some articles about Crysis and all the troubles people had getting Crysis to run. Okay? Number one, Cyberpunk is the second coming of Crysis because it's just breaking everybody. People are just struggling to get this game to run at a steady 60 frames per second with everything on Ultra. It's expensive. But anyway, so I said this on the Warzone a few years ago, maybe more than that. When the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One came out and I saw what they were doing graphically, I said, okay, consoles are catching up to PC. Look at these games. Look at how great they look. I mean, if you look at a game on PS4 or Xbox One, if you just look at it real quick and then look at the PC version, you probably won't be able to tell a difference right away without going to Digital Foundry or one of those sites to see a close-up comparison. You'd be like, oh, shit. PS4 and Xbox One really did some great things in terms of moving the bar up to a medium-grade gaming PC. I won't even say high-end. I'll say a medium to high-end gaming PC, depending on the game you're running. They had 1080p. They had 60 frames per second here and there somewhat. But prior to that, there was a dearth between Xbox 360 and PS3 games and their PC counterparts, dependent on the developer. So you weren't really seeing much of a difference in the Call of Duties, except maybe 1080p and 60 frames per second locked. But the games look the same. A developer like DICE said, "Fuck all you guys. These consoles suck. So instead of scaling our game back to the lowest common denominator, we're going to make a Battlefield 3 for consoles, and we're going to make a Battlefield 3 for PC. We're going to do the PC version first." So the PC version had 64-player, huge, gigantic maps and all this other cool shit and great textures. It was fucking gorgeous. And on the console, they scaled back on the graphics. They scaled back on the size of the maps. They scaled back on the number of players. It was a completely different game, but it was still Battlefield. It was still Battlefield 3. But it was almost like when Forza Horizon 2 came out for the Xbox One and the Xbox 360. They were made by different developers. They were different games. So DICE wasn't about to sacrifice the PC version of the game just because of consoles. So they had a console version and a PC version. They said, fuck you, we're making this game as balls out as we can on PC, and whatever's left over, we'll cut bits and pieces out of it for the console version just so it can play on the consoles. Because in its true form, Battlefield 3 could not play on the consoles the way it was on PC. You couldn't have 64 players. There's not enough RAM. You couldn't have those giant maps. There's not enough RAM. You couldn't have those good-looking textures. Not enough RAM. There wasn't enough memory. You couldn't have 60 frames per second. But on PC, you could. And I said, when the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, and I said, when consoles finally do catch up to PC in power, that is when the developers are going to say, great, look at the lowest common denominator now. Let's really go balls to the walls and make some serious PC games. Sure enough, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X come out, and they are equivalent to a high-end gaming PC. Now, before some of you nuts out there say, oh, no, yes, they are. They got the latest and greatest AMD GPUs, and CPUs. They got 16 gigs of RAM, which is unheard of on a console. 16 gigs. I'm running 16 gigs on my machine. You don't need more than 16 gigs to play games. Okay? You got 4K. You got 60 frames per second. You got ray tracing. The PS5 and the Xbox Series X are equal to a baseline high-end console. So you have CD Projekt Red, which in my eyes is only second to DICE in terms of one of the best developers out there for PC. They're up there. They're way up there. Like Witcher 3, it still can't be matched as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, CD Projekt Red is dope. They're great to the consumers. They have great ideas. They don't try to screw you over for money. Okay? When Cyberpunk was originally announced, it was announced only for the Xbox 360. Wait, how long ago was it? Was it 2012? Fuck. I think they announced it in 2012. Let's see, the Cyberpunk 2077 announced. Yeah, in 2012. So in 2012, we were still gaming on Xbox 360 and PS4 and PS3. So I don't think they were planning on making it for the PS3 and Xbox 360. I think they were planning on making it for the Xbox One and PS4 at the time. But that was just an announcement. According to what people have found out, they didn't start actually developing the game until 2016. Still, Xbox One, PS4, and obviously PC. And I can bet money that CD Projekt Red develops their games on PC and then ports them over to console. Okay, that's just because that's how they are. So at the time, before they actually started typing in code, they probably figured, yeah, we can do this game on consoles and we can do it on PC. Years go by, and now the next generation of consoles comes out. So not only do they have to make it work on last gen, but you know they got all these powerhouses for next gen to make their game work on. Here is where a lot of developers fail, and here is where the consumer fails. CD Projekt Red knew they had problems running this game on last gen consoles. Instead of pushing the game back, what they should have done is they should have said, fuck last gen. We're only going to do PC, Xbox Series X, and PS5. Or they should have said, we can make this work on last gen. We can really make it work, but we're going to need another 6 months to scale the graphics back, to scale the characters on the screen, to really optimize it so it works on the PS4 and Xbox One. They could definitely do that, but they need more time. So they should have really said, and I don't believe they should have canceled the game. I think they should have said the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions are coming out next spring or whatever, right? But you got all those pre-orders, okay? I've done the pre-ordering thing. You get pre-order bonus, whatever. Back in the days where there was no digital downloads and it was only physical copies, and it was a popular game like Halo, if you didn't pre-order your copy of Halo, you would go to GameStop the next day and say, hey, I'd like a copy of Halo. And they'd say, it's all sold out. You should have pre-ordered. Because these stores had a minimum amount of physical copies. And you pre-order, so you were guaranteed a copy at 12 a.m. on launch day. So you go to the store, you wait in line, you get a ticket, you pick up your reserved copy that you paid for or put your $5 down for or whatever. You had a physical copy of the game, you can go home and play it. If you did not pre-order, back in the days, you walk up to the store the next day when the store is officially opened, and guess what? We're out of copies. You don't get Halo. So that's where pre-ordering comes from. But now we live in the digital age. You don't need to pre-order at all unless you want pre-order bonuses, which are bullshit anyway. They shouldn't offer pre-order bonus. Fuck all those trinkets and stupid shit you get. Fuck pre-order bonuses. You don't need to pre-order. I haven't pre-ordered a game, and I don't know how long. If I've done anything, it's preload a game, so it's fully installed on my machine. So by the time it's launched, I could play without waiting. But I don't pre-order games, and I'm telling you right now, if you are a gamer and you pre-order physical copies, you're fucking stupid. Stop giving these companies money before you get to play the game. Just stop. Stop doing that. They're using pre-orders as a metric now. Well, we've got 2 million pre-orders of our next game. They're using it as a metric. And they take your money before you have the game. Whether you put $5 down, I don't even know if they allow you to still put $5 down at GameStop. Or you pay the full $60 or $70, you know? But stop fucking pre-ordering. Why are you pre-ordering? Now, here's the trade-off. With the digital age being so huge, you don't have to pre-order. You can get it the night of and pre-install it, right? But then again, since the majority of people aren't buying physical copies like they used to, the chance of you going to the store and there not being a physical copy, it's lower and lower and lower. Case in point, when Ghost of Tsushima came out, I didn't pre-order Ghost of Tsushima. Waited for it to came out. I looked around, see where they had copies. I went to Target and I picked it up. Back in the days, you couldn't do that. Okay, but these are new times. We have digital. So the first problem is you guys pre-ordering these games, and then I done 400 plus episodes of Warzone. I do this show. I try to inform you guys best I can from my experience in this industry, and I told you guys that there was going to come a time when PC games are going to just put on the fucking nitro and blast past consoles. Case in point, Cyberpunk. Okay? And I'm only talking about last-gen consoles. I'm not talking about the PS5 and Xbox Series X. I know what they have for hardware. I know what they're capable of. But I'm talking about PS4 and Xbox One. Last gen, you were like, oh, this looks just like PC. It's fucking awesome. Not anymore. Not anymore. Those limited 8 gigabyte machines, developers ain't thinking about that shit no more. And unfortunately for CD Projekt Red and their investors, they have to think about those, because when you got 100 million PS4s and 52 million Xbox Ones out there, there's a lot of money to be made. Okay, so you got to consider those. Or you have to have the balls as an indie AAA developer to say, fuck these old last-gen consoles. Let's go and do the next gen and really make this game the way we want to, and not have to deal with having to work on the last-gen versions of the game. You know, DICE had a huge fucking team, so of course they can make a cheap-ass fucking Walgreens version of Battlefield 3. They had enough developers and they had the time to make that lesser version of the game, but they focused on the PC version first. I don't think CD Projekt Red is that big at this juncture. So there was a lot of pressure on them to make all these versions of the game. Okay? I got a lot more to say, so just relax. Another issue with this is all these companies pushing these developers to get these games out at Christmas. Talk to fucking Rockstar, okay? Rockstar, Take-Two, whatever. They sell GTA 6 or GTA 5 consistently, 12 months a year. It doesn't fucking matter if it's the holiday or not. Stop pushing these games out on the holidays to make this extra money so your fucking fiscal year looks good. I understand the business of video games, but when you push a product out before it's ready, look what happens. So now CD Projekt Red, they've lost all this trust, they've lost all this money because of refunds now. It has become what people are calling a fucking nightmare, a disaster. Okay? I can't blame CD Projekt Red totally. I don't know how their business structure is or how they worked. I understand why they tried to get it on PS4 and Xbox One. I understand why they tried to get it out the holidays, but they really should have done next gen and PC first. Because there's a lot of people that not only can't afford next gen consoles, they can't fucking find them, which is where my other part of the blame comes from. Sony and Microsoft doing digital online only orders of their fucking next gen consoles. So all the scalpers got the consoles. So people were pretty much forced to buy the PS4 and Xbox One versions of Cyberpunk because they couldn't get a next gen console. How many people out there can't get a next gen console and said, fuck it, I'll get it for the PS4, Xbox One? So now you're forced to buy that version of the game and now you can't play it. Okay? I'm sorry. Microsoft and Sony, big, huge fail. You should have done, if you fuck COVID, put on a mask, stand 6 feet away from each other for the next mile and wait in line to get your physical console at the store. I cannot wait until all those scalpers get fucked over and they have to sell those consoles for the regular price because there's going to be enough in the stores where people can pay $4.99 for a console. Fuck all those motherfuckers. Desperate times, I guess, but whatever. So, my view of CD Projekt Red has not changed. They're still a top-tier developer to me. While everybody out there is calling it a horrible nightmare, A horrible nightmare is 9/11. Okay, it's hundreds of people getting slaughtered or killed by gunfire by crazy asshole fucking terrorists. This is video games. It's not a nightmare. It's not horrible. It's business. And you guys have been gaming for years should know this by now. It's just how shit goes. Stop pre-ordering games. Stop putting so much trust in these fucking companies. Okay? And just think about stuff. Like, why does anybody pre-order in 2020? I don't get it. Y'all could have saved yourself a hassle. Don't pre-order. Then you won't get fucked. I know a lot of people are stuck with their PS4 and Xbox One physical copies of the game. You can't do anything. And I'm telling you, it's like, you should have waited. There's so much other shit to play. I mean, I get it. The game's been hyped and everything, but there's more to life than fucking video games. So just chill. And I'll tell you what. I'm happy to see that the PC version is running better than the consoles. Because that just tells me that devs are putting PC first. Okay? And I know it's not running perfect on every PC. Shit, I'm having trouble just getting 60 frames per second without cutting a bunch of shit down. Time for a new video card. But this is gaming, folks. This is gaming. This is what you signed up for. So when the next big game is going to come out and they're pushing it back because they want to fix it and make sure it's perfect, don't fucking harass the company. Don't say the company is making a mistake or whatever. You're now waiting for Halo Infinite because Microsoft wants to do better. Okay? They want to do better. They want to release you a good product. So don't be pissed about that. Never be pissed if a game gets pushed back. Never be pissed. GTA 5, Gran Turismo 5, it was almost an entire generation before that fucking game came out. Let developers do their thing. Stop letting the corporations dictate shit. Stop pre-ordering fucking games, especially in the digital age. My name is Torrance Davis, and this is Good Morning Gamer.